Biden's new disinformation czar said fears about critical race theory in Loudoun County schools are disinformation for profit, despite entire school board now facing being voted out over woke equity seminars for teachers. We were told that Biden's disinformation governance board would not be targeting the American people. That's a lie. And I'm going to break down for you how they'll pull it off, but it's quite simple. A story will come out. They will claim it's Russian disinformation, as they often do. They'll say, we're not targeting Americans, but they'll start purging, deleting, or what will happen is you will get Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, maybe not Twitter with Elon Musk stepping in, but YouTube's going to say, we won't allow any Russian disinformation on the platform. We don't allow foreign influence campaigns. And then when the governance board says something, you're banned, which is why passively, I suppose, I'm proud to announce timcast.com is now officially hosted on Rumble's cloud services, and our member segment videos are now hosted on Rumble's video services. It's one small move we've made so far, utilizing infrastructure outside of the confines of this psychotic authoritarianism to make ourselves more resilient to protect our communication platforms. I've been talking about how we're working on infrastructure. We've officially switched over. We are officially on Rumble's servers, which are more resilient, more resistant to censorship. Not perfect. Nobody is. But so far, it's one move we've made. Why? Critical race theory in Loudoun County is a real thing. We live and work 20 seconds away from Loudoun County. Almost able to say I live in Loudoun County. No, I'm not in Virginia. But where we are, you can drive only a couple minutes. To be serious, it's only a few minutes. And because we're in the tri-state and you are in Loudoun County. Now, where all of this is going down with these schools is more like a half an hour away because Loudoun County is fairly big. But here's the point. We know for a fact that critical race theory, critical theory, gender ideology are in these schools. Biden's disinformation czar said it was disinformation for profit. What do you think is going to happen now with the government Ministry of Truth? Now, Republicans, I believe it's Josh Hawley, has already filed legislation to get rid of it. Good. And they should be sued on First Amendment grounds. Before I show you this, I'd like to show you the lie. Mayorkas to CNN claims new DHS disinformation board will not monitor U.S. citizens. Of course we won't be monitoring U.S. citizens. No, I said it. I'll say it again. The disinformation board will say, here's a list of the current stories that are Russian disinformation. Facebook, YouTube, etc. are going to say, we don't allow this disinformation on the platform. They've already done it. I mean, that's what the whole 2020 election fraud thing was. They said, you are not allowed to talk about it. Now, look, you guys know I don't agree with that narrative anyway. And it's weird when people are like, Tim actually does think it's true, but he's only saying this to stay on YouTube. It's like, no, if you go to the timcast.com member segment, you can hear me argue with Steve Bannon about this. I don't think Trump is correct on the fraud narrative. There are things we talk about on timcast.com member segment where we'd probably get banned from YouTube, and I will outright say my opinions on these things. I think the best thing when it comes to the voter stuff is just to get people out to vote. I mean, J.D. Vance just won the primary. Let's get it. Get some America First populists in there. They're not going to monitor U.S. citizens. But just like with the fraud narrative stuff, YouTube's going to announce that some things are fake news and not allowed to be on the platform. The government won't do it. They're going to use this as an excuse. YouTube's going to be like, look, we have to. And quite possibly, worst case scenario is the DHS will issue a national security letter where YouTube will be forced to remove information. And they won't say it's against an individual. And you won't know the government is targeting you, and you won't be able to sue them because you won't know why YouTube banned you. Let's go talk about the crackpot BS from this woman. Nina Jankowicz, a disinformation expert who has worked through Eastern Europe, was hired on April 27th to lead the DHS's working group designed to help its different agencies in dealing with disinformation topics. Oh, disinformation expert. I actually think that's fair to call Nina Jankowicz a disinformation expert. It's like, the way I described it before is like an ice cream shop. If somebody was hired to work in an ice cream shop, I would call them an ice cream expert. They disseminate ice cream to people. If someone is hired to be to run a disinformation group, they disseminate disinformation. That's what Nina Jankowicz does. She lies because she's evil. You know, and I hate to say it a little bit. I don't like using the word evil because, you know, the Young Turks say the same thing and they say it about me and other people. Nina Jankowicz has published outright lies that are verifiable lies. Okay? The CRT stuff in Loudoun County happened organically. Parents got wind of what their kids were being taught because, I don't know about Loudoun specifically, but a big push what happened in these schools was that with COVID and Zoom classrooms, parents all of a sudden were seeing what their kids were learning and went, what? Yo, we don't want that. In Florida, there is a lawsuit because a teenage girl was going through gender transition and they didn't tell the parents. I think this happened more than once. So the Republicans passed the Parental Rights and Education Bill. These things happened. Kids were saying these things. But people like Nina Jankowicz, the Democrats, the left, they just say, didn't happen. That never happened. You're lying. No. People believe them. Look at Taylor Lorenz. This is the most brazen. But I'm glad, in a sense, Taylor Lorenz doxed libs of TikTok because it gave us the most obvious piece of evidence. If there's anyone you know and they don't believe you when you tell them the media is lying to them, you need only go to archive.ph, look up Taylor Lorenz's libs of TikTok article in the Washington Post, put that into the archive and look up the first iteration of it, and you will see she linked to the private address of libs of TikTok. That's called doxing. She then went on, Taylor Lorenz, CNN, and said, I never did that. The Washington Post said, we never published any private details. Now, if someone is unwilling to look at that evidence and believe it, you're dealing with an NPC, my friend. They don't care. Okay, there's nothing you can do about it. But any good-natured person who has simply not seen the evidence, that's the evidence. This right here is absolutely insane. We had a woman on, Timcast IRL, who brought like 30 books showing all the insane things that was being taught in these schools. They go to mention her appointment angered Republicans, blah, blah, blah. Here she is. Unease about CRT was down to disinformation for profit. From who? These parents were going out to make money. Like I mentioned, we live near Loudoun County, and there's a skate park near where all this is going on. It's called the Catoctin Skate Park. It might be in Leesburg. I'm not sure what city that actually is. And I went skating. You know, me and the crew, we went to the skate park to go hang out, and had a good time. And about a block away someone was doing tabling, like a political table was set up with like pamphlets, and they were holding up signs opposing critical race theory. It was just a bunch of regular people. They're lying to you. I drove past and saw this. I cover this stuff. Advocates say it's necessary to underline how deeply racism pervades our society. No, this is the lie. They come out and they say that they're just trying to teach racism in history. What they're doing is indoctrinating kids with like whiteness contracts and things like that. I'll show you some of this stuff. Take a look at this. Jankowicz, for her part, said at City Club of Cleveland, you're absolutely right that critical race theory has become one of those hot button issues that the Republicans and other disinformers who are engaged in disinformation for profit. Frankly, there are plenty of media outlets that are making money off this too, have seized on. And I live in Virginia. And in Loudoun County, that's one of the areas where people have really honed in on this topic, but it's no different than any other hot button issues that have allowed disinformation to flourish. It's weaponizing people's emotion. You know what you need to do, my friends? First, you always got to be well-informed and polite. Someone at these events needs to say, I have a question. I have a book here that says whiteness contract that shows a white person with a devil tail. Now, is that necessary to teach someone about racism? Yeah, that was in the schools. That is in schools. Let's talk about genderqueer. Let's talk about critical gender theory. Let's talk about what they're teaching your kids. From the Washington Post, from Maya Kababe, opinion. Schools are banning my book. Oh, no. But queer kids need queer stories. Do they? Maybe. Far be it from me to tell a queer kid what a queer kid needs. I don't know. But hold on there, Maya Kababe. Are you a groomer? Are you grooming kids? Are you grooming kids? Are you sending children graphic depictions of sexual activities? You are? Wait, but how could that be? I thought it's for kids, right? It's for kids. And they said the grooming thing, that's not true, that you're not grooming. I think you're a groomer. I think, Maya, you groom kids because you are here advocating for kids to read your book. And here's Amazon saying 18 years and up for your book. Gender Queer, a memoir by Maya Kobabe. Reading age, 18 years and up. So are you putting out a book for adults and then trying to get into the hands of children? Does your book include images that I can't show on YouTube? It does. You're grooming kids. You see, I'll tell you a story. Helena Kirshner, a detransitioner, came on Timcast IRL a couple days ago. And she explained how she was groomed into being trans. It does not mean that every trans person is a groomer. In fact, I quite detest the phrase trans agenda. I don't like it. You know, people come on the show and they're like, there's a trans agenda. And I'm like, if you're talking about a cult with a gender ideology agenda that includes, you know, grooming kids and you know, gender ideology, fine. If you're trying to claim that trans people have an agenda to do something, I take issue with that. I've met more than my fair share of Trump supporting trans people, and I just reject the premise. Blair White is incredible. I'm a big fan of Blair. Blair is rad and certainly not trying to indoctrinate kids and actually pushes back on the weird grooming stuff and the cult-like behavior. Blair White is a trans woman. The issue is not that trans people are this, that, or otherwise. The issue is that there are bad people. Now, maybe you might say, it's more likely that someone pushing this is trans. I mean, makes sense because they are trans. They advocate for what they are, but not every trans person is going after kids. There have been many interviews with Trump supporting trans people who have come out. There was a famous viral video where a drag queen came out and said, stop the kid stuff. They said it's a lifestyle. It's for adults. It should not be given to kids and all that. And I'm like, dude, I take a libertarian approach. Conservatives right now, you have an advantage. Libertarian individuals are siding with you because they're going after kids. But the libertarian-ish people, and I don't mean right libertarian, because I'm like libertarian center. We're kind of just like, I'm not going to go to someone's house and complain about them doing something. Or if someone wants to have a club and they want to dress the way they want to dress, I'm not going to get involved in that. That's the advantage you have, conservatives. That's basically the line. You're not going to, look, so many people said they were willing to vote for Trump and Republican because Republicans came around on gay marriage. And now they're saying no to the kid stuff. All right. Let's talk about Maya Kobabe being a groomer. Kids need queer stories. Kids. Really. Kids. I don't know what else to say. They claim it's disinformation and all that stuff. I woke up to emails from journalists at the Associated Press and local DC news stations. My debut graphic book, Gender Queer, a memoir, had been banned at a Fairfax County school board meeting. The images in the book I can't show on YouTube. It's graphic sexual depictions. Not the whole book. Like, obviously, the whole book talks a little bit about, other issues, non-binary people and all that stuff. Okay. But there are pictures in it of overt, graphic, adult sexual activities. And you wanted kids to see that. Let me tell you about Helena and what she said. Helena said that she was on Tumblr. And she's 13. They start telling her things that, like, this is a sign that you're trans. And so she's young and she's confused. They said, if you like a certain kind of material, it means you're trans and you really want to be a boy. She said they would say things to her like, why don't you try cutting your hair short and see how you feel? And if you like it, maybe you're a boy. And then she was like, okay, well, cutting your hair is no big deal, right? So you cut your hair. Then you post a photo and they go, oh, you look so amazing. Oh, wow, you look so good. You must really be a boy. Cutting your hair, it's something simple and not permanent. And so you're like, I do feel good. Wow, everybody really likes me. It feels so good. Everyone's cheering you on. They're grooming. This is what grooming is. So then they say, have you tried maybe like wearing a t-shirt and jeans? Like wear some boys' clothes. See how you feel. Because if you feel good, maybe you're trans. And then what happens is, okay, she tries it. Posts the photo and they all go, wow, you look so amazing. Well, all of this attention and positive reinforcement that's being lavished upon you, it does feel good. And they say, I do feel good. And they say, see, it's because you're trans. No, it's because they're grooming you. It's how they do it. Then it got to the point where they said, maybe you should take testosterone. You really are trans. You feel so good, don't you? She said she eventually realized that she was being manipulated. And you know what I was told is, because we did this episode a couple days ago, I said, so they were grooming you. And someone said to me, Helena looked like she didn't realize that was the grooming process. Like the dots were connected, like, oh yeah, that's grooming. I knew someone once. This is how they groom people into prostitution. They'll tell you something like, do you want to come model for us? You're so beautiful, to like young women and even young men. You're so beautiful. Why don't you come to this party? We need like models to be there. We'll pay you $200 and all you got to do is wear this really nice dress and we'll take some photos. And they go, wow. They go to the party and people are like, wow, you're stunning and so beautiful. Then they'll say, if you ever want to do another one of these parties, we'll pay you $200. It's really great. We'll have a dress for you. But the next dress, it's a little more revealing, a little more revealing than the first one. But it's no big deal. I mean, it's a revealing dress. Everybody does it. But everybody says, oh, you're so amazing. You're so beautiful. Oh, wow. You're so incredible. Thank you so much for coming. Here's money. Then they say, come into this. We're going to do an event. There's going to be a pool. So we'll be swimming and we'll give you your dress and we'll get you a bikini. And they say, okay, well, it's just swimwear. Then they say, why don't you come to this next event? More revealing outfits. Eventually they say, well, people, would you go topless? We'll pay you extra money. I mean, it's just modeling. I mean, you've already done the more revealing stuff in the bikini anyway. It's no big deal. Other people will be there. You see, one step at a time, they groom. And then eventually they say, why don't we just go, skinny dip? Eventually they say, just, hang out with this guy. I have personally witnessed this kind of grooming that results in people eventually becoming prostitutes with pimps, one step at a time. And they lavish you with positive attention. It's so amazing. Feel good. Everyone loves you. So this is where we're at. I suppose it's supposed to be mostly about a disinformation thing, but we got into the grooming stuff because this stuff is happening at schools. And Nina Jankowicz is absolutely lying. She is to sow disinformation. So what's going to happen is, as I mentioned, they will come out with a story. Politico. Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. January 11th, 2017 by Ken Vogel and David Stern. They say Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump by publicly questioning his fitness for office. They disseminated documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption and suggested they were investigating the matter, only to back away after the election. They helped Clinton allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors, a Politico investigation found. I bring you now to 2020. Politico. When Russian disinformation met a Trump obsession. 3 weeks after Election Day 2016, the Kremlin officially floated a theory that would ultimately lead to only the third presidential impeachment in history. Ukraine seriously complicated the work of Trump's election by planting information aimed at damaging his campaign chairman, Paul Manafort. A spokesman for Russia's foreign ministry told reporters November 30th, 2016, accusing the Ukrainian government of scheming to help Hillary Clinton. What? How does Politico have both stories? Neither have been retracted. If they want to publish the story claiming their own work is disinformation, shouldn't they retract it? You see the point. Both stories exist. The narrative from the corporate press is that Ukraine sabotaged Trump and also that Ukraine didn't, and it was Russian disinformation. Which one will be banned from social media? This, my friends, staring you in the face. Please share this with your loved ones who refuse to believe it. I don't know what else to tell you. Every day I do videos where I say, look at this. Politico, the URL is right there, politico.com. Just Google this headline, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. Search this headline, when Russian disinformation met a Trump obsession, Politico. How can both stories be real? Politico should have retracted the first one, but they didn't. Because they're lying. Because this is what they do. They lie. Perhaps the first story is fake news. Perhaps the first story was what was Russian disinformation. NewsGuard, you gave Politico a 100 out of 100, and they never corrected this lie they claim is a lie. Answer me this. The Russian disinformation BS serves a political agenda, and Nina Jankowicz is either a useful idiot or she's a willful schemer. This is where we are in the modern political era. So I can tell you this. I may not be able to tell you definitively which version of these stories is true because Politico published both. I tend to side with the first story. I'll say this story is true. Why? Because we have other information backing up these claims. We know who the woman is who was engaged in this. We know what information was released. We know that Paul Manafort actually ended up getting in trouble over this. So it stands to reason this story is the true story. And this story from Natasha Bertrand, who pushed the Russiagate lies, is a lie. Why are they hiring her? I'm sick of the lies. I am sick of all of the lies. If people don't want to believe it, if people don't want to believe the videos I put out, then I don't know what to tell you. Civil war, I suppose. Because the zombies will remain zombies. And what do? I don't know. Show them, tell them, try and wake them up, try and explain to them that the disinformation board stuff is bad. Maybe they won't want to listen. But maybe I should hire someone to put together a simple mini documentary. I think we'll do it. I do current event commentary and talk show. I think I'll hire someone to put together a very simple breakdown of things like this, of all of the lies, with research backed up and analyses, an academic approach, as it were. Perhaps drafting up a thesis, special project. Let's do it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.